77 years ago, Al Capone's henchmen murdered 7 rival mobsters, gunned them down execution style.
No matter what's the cost, I'll take care of everything. No matter if it costs $1 million. You just make sure you send me the bill, okay?
And what kind of message does it send to other drug traffickers?
It says very clearly that if we can get our hands on El Chapo, I would say we can get our hands on anyone.
In the underworld, wealth can be as dangerous as it is enticing. This video chronicles the tales of the 15 richest criminals in history, individuals whose illicit activities allowed them to amass fortunes that rival and often surpass those of law-abiding millionaires and billionaires. Number 1. Pablo Escobar. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, born on December 1, 1949 in Rio Negro, Colombia, is perhaps the most infamous criminal in history. His name is synonymous with the narcotics trade, and his empire, at its peak, was responsible for an estimated 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the United States. According to various sources, Escobar's wealth peaked at around $30 billion, earning him a spot on Forbes' list of global billionaires for 7 consecutive years from 1987 to 1993. Escobar's journey into the underworld began with petty street crimes, but he quickly escalated to smuggling contraband cigarettes and stealing cars. His ambition and ruthless approach to business led him to the burgeoning cocaine trade in the late 1970s. Using innovative smuggling techniques and a keen understanding of the demand for recreational drugs in the United States, Escobar's Medellin cartel soon dominated the cocaine trade. In an attempt to legitimize his wealth, Escobar ventured into politics, leveraging his vast fortune to gain a seat in Colombia's Congress. However, his criminal activities weren't hidden for long, leading to his downfall. His reign ended on December 2, 1993, when he was killed in a shootout with Colombian National Police, a day after his 44th birthday. Escobar's legacy continues to fascinate and horrify in equal measure. His ruthless pursuit of power and wealth led to the deaths of thousands, and his impact on Colombia is still felt today. His life has been the subject of countless books, movies, and TV shows, all attempting to understand the man behind the legend, the individual who, for a time, was one of the world's richest and most dangerous criminals. Number 2. Al Capone. Alphonse Gabriel Capone, better known as Al Capone, was one of the most notorious gangsters in American history. Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1899, Capone rose to prominence during the Prohibition era as the co-founder and boss of the Chicago outfit. His 7-year reign as crime boss ended when he was just 33 years old. Capone's criminal empire, which was primarily based on the illegal sale of alcohol, was reportedly earning $100 million per year at the height of Prohibition. His wealth allowed him to bribe politicians, law enforcement, and judges, which kept him relatively safe from prosecution. However, Capone's flamboyant lifestyle and public flaunting of his wealth attracted the attention of federal authorities. Despite the numerous violent crimes attributed to Capone, it was tax evasion that finally led to his downfall. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison in 1931. Capone's health deteriorated while in prison, and he was released on parole in 1939. He died in 1947 from cardiac arrest after suffering a stroke. Capone's life has been widely depicted in popular culture, including films and television series, reflecting the fascination with his rise and fall. Despite his criminal activities, his name is often associated with the romanticized image of the Roaring Twenties and gangster life in Chicago. Number 3. El Chapo Guzman. Joaquin Archibaldo Guzman Loera, known as El Chapo, is a Mexican drug lord who led the Sinaloa cartel, an international crime syndicate. Born on December 25, 1954, in La Tuna, Badiraguato, Sinaloa, Mexico, El Chapo became one of the most powerful people in the world, with an estimated net worth of $1 billion, according to Forbes. El Chapo's criminal career spans over 3 decades. He started off in the late 1970s by working for established drug traffickers in Mexico. By the late 1980s, El Chapo founded his own cartel, which was known for its violent methods and tight-knit organization. The Sinaloa cartel controlled large territories in Mexico, making El Chapo one of the key figures in the Mexican drug war. El Chapo was notorious for his escapes from prison. He was first arrested in Guatemala in 1993 and extradited to Mexico. However, he escaped from prison in 2001, reportedly in a laundry cart. After 13 years on the run, he was captured again in 2014, but escaped a year later through a tunnel that led from his cell to outside the prison. El Chapo was recaptured in 2016 and extradited to the United States, where he was sentenced to life imprisonment plus 30 years in 2019. El Chapo's influence in the drug trade has been significant, and his life has been the subject of numerous books, movies, and television series. His story illustrates the vast wealth that can be amassed through illegal activities and the eventual price that is paid. Number 4. Meyer Lansky. Meyer Lansky, born Meyer Sucholansky in 1902 in Grodno, now in Belarus, then part of the Russian Empire, was a prominent figure in the American organized crime scene. He was known as the mob's accountant for his financial acumen and ability to structure and protect the mafia's vast fortunes. His operations were so successful that his net worth was rumored to be in the hundreds of millions, although the exact amount remains unknown due to the clandestine nature of his activities. Lansky immigrated to the United States in 1911, settling in New York's Lower East Side. It was here that he met Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, with whom he formed a lifelong partnership. Starting with bootlegging during the Prohibition era, Lansky and Siegel were instrumental in developing the National Crime Syndicate, a confederation of crime families across the country. Lansky was a pioneer in recognizing the potential of the gambling industry as a lucrative income source for organized crime. He set up operations in Florida, New Orleans, and eventually Las Vegas. Moreover, he expanded his gambling empire internationally to Cuba, the Bahamas, and other Caribbean countries. Despite his extensive criminal activities, Lansky was never convicted for anything more serious than illegal gambling. His ability to keep a low profile, combined with his financial wizardry, helped him avoid the fate of many of his contemporaries who ended up in prison or were killed. Lansky passed away from lung cancer in 1983 in Miami Beach, Florida, with his family claiming he had almost no money left. Lansky's life and character have influenced numerous fictional characters in films and literature, most notably Hyman Roth in The Godfather Part 2, which depicted his activities in Cuba. His story epitomizes the rise of organized crime in America, demonstrating the enormous wealth and power that could be amassed through illicit activities. His legacy continues to fascinate, serving as a window into the shadowy world of organized crime in the 20th century. Number 5. Frank Lucas. Frank Lucas, born in LaGrange, North Carolina in 1930, was a notorious drug trafficker and organized crime boss. Rising from humble beginnings, Lucas became one of the most infamous figures in the American criminal underworld, reputedly amassing a net worth of over $52 million at the height of his operations. Lucas's journey to becoming a crime lord began in his teens, when he fled North Carolina after a violent altercation with the Ku Klux Klan. Arriving in Harlem, New York, he entered the world of petty crime and gradually moved up the ranks under the mentorship of famed mob boss Bumpy Johnson. After Johnson's death in 1968, Lucas took over the operation. What set Lucas apart from his contemporaries was his innovative approach to the drug trade. He established a direct supply chain for heroin from Southeast Asia to the United States during the Vietnam War, famously using military transport planes to smuggle drugs. This operation, known as the Golden Triangle, allowed Lucas to sell a purer product at lower prices than his competitors, making him a dominant player in the heroin market. His enterprise, however, did not go unnoticed. The efforts of Richie Roberts, an incorruptible detective, led to Lucas's arrest in 1975. Faced with a 70-year prison sentence, Lucas became an informant, leading to the convictions of numerous corrupt officials and law enforcement officers. His sentence was subsequently reduced, and he was released in 1981. Lucas's life took a turn after his release. He expressed regret for his past and claimed to have gone straight, although he was later convicted on drug charges in the 1980s, and again in 1991. The story of Frank Lucas is one of ambition, wealth, and downfall. It has been immortalized in the 2007 film American Gangster, where Denzel Washington portrayed Lucas. His life serves as a stark reminder of the far-reaching impact of the drug trade and the intricate connections between crime, power, and wealth. Number 6. Dawood Ibrahim. Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, India's most wanted man, is the alleged mastermind behind numerous criminal activities, spanning continents and affecting millions of lives. Born in 1955 in a crime-ridden area of Mumbai, Dawood would rise to become the leader of the D Company, a transnational organized crime syndicate involved in everything from narcotics trafficking to contract killings. His estimated net worth is in the billions, although precise figures are challenging to confirm due to the illicit nature of his fortune. Dawood's initiation into the world of crime began at an early age. He started with petty crime and gradually moved into more serious offenses, gaining notoriety for his fearlessness and cunning. His rise to power was swift. By the early 1980s, Dawood was said to control much of Mumbai's underworld, including the city's lucrative smuggling routes. The D Company's criminal activities are not confined to India. Dawood allegedly has extensive operations in Southeast Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. He has been linked to counterfeit currency operations, arms smuggling, and the global narcotics trade. The United Nations Security Council has designated him as a global terrorist for his alleged role in the 1993 Bombay bombings, which resulted in over 250 deaths and hundreds of injuries. Dawood's whereabouts have been the subject of speculation and controversy for decades. He is believed to be living in Pakistan, although the Pakistani authorities have consistently denied his presence in the country. Despite numerous attempts to apprehend him, Dawood remains at large, adding to his aura of invincibility and power. His life has inspired numerous movies and books, contributing to a certain glorification of his persona. However, the reality is much darker. The vast empire of Dawood Ibrahim, built on illicit activities, has caused immense suffering and loss. His tale is a sobering reminder of the destructive power of organized crime and the vast wealth it can generate for those ruthless and cunning enough to rise to the top. Despite his wealth and power, Dawood Ibrahim remains a fugitive, living in hiding, a testament to the ultimate consequences of a life of crime. Number 7. Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanco, also known as the Black Widow or the Cocaine Godmother, was a notorious Colombian drug lord of the Medellin cartel. Born on February 15, 1943 in Cartagena, Colombia, Blanco rose from poverty to become one of the key figures in the Miami drug trade during the 1970s and 1980s, with an estimated net worth of $2 billion. Blanco's life was marked by violence from a young age. She was involved in petty crime as a child, but it wasn't until the 1970s that she rose to prominence in the drug trade. Blanco and her second husband, Alberto Bravo, established a cocaine business in New York City, which was highly successful until law enforcement shut it down in the mid-1970s. Blanco then moved to Miami, where her ruthless tactics and her willingness to use violence to maintain control over her operation earned her a fearsome reputation. She was allegedly responsible for up to 200 murders during the height of her operation, either directly or through contracts. Despite her successful operation, Blanco's life was marked by personal tragedy and constant run-ins with the law. She served multiple prison terms in the United States, and her violent lifestyle resulted in the deaths of 3 of her 4 husbands. Blanco was deported to Colombia in 2004 after serving nearly 20 years in prison. Blanco's life ended as violently as she lived. She was assassinated in Medellin in 2012 at the age of 69. Despite her death, Blanco's life continues to fascinate and horrify. Her story has been portrayed in numerous documentaries, films, and TV shows, serving as a chilling reminder of the dangerous and violent world of the drug trade. Griselda Blanco's tale is one of ambition, power, violence, and downfall. She broke gender barriers in the male-dominated world of drug trafficking, but her reign was marked by bloodshed and brutality. Blanco's story serves as a cautionary tale of the destructive power of greed and the high cost of illicit wealth. Number 8. Semyon Mogilevich. Semyon Mogilevich, born on June 30, 1946 in Kyiv, Ukrainian SSR, is one of the most infamous figures in the world of organized crime. Known as the boss of bosses, Mogilevich is believed to be the mastermind behind the Russian mafia, wielding power and influence that extends across borders. Despite numerous accusations and legal actions against him, the precise extent of his wealth remains a mystery due to the opaque nature of his operations. Mogilevich's criminal activities allegedly began in the 1970s with a currency exchange scam. However, it was the fall of the Soviet Union that provided him with the opportunity to significantly expand his criminal empire. He capitalized on the chaos and economic instability of the period to engage in a wide range of illicit activities, including arms trafficking, drug trafficking, contract murders, extortion, and most notably, financial fraud. One of the most infamous scams attributed to Mogilevich is the manipulation of stock in the Canadian company YBM Magnex International. The scheme inflated the company's stock prices, and it's believed that Mogilevich and his associates made hundreds of millions of dollars before the scam was discovered. Despite being on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, Mogilevich lives openly in Russia, which has refused to extradite him to face charges in the United States. He has denied all criminal accusations, maintaining that he is a businessman involved in legitimate enterprises. Mogilevich's story is a stark example of the international nature of organized crime in the 21st century. His alleged ability to manipulate global financial systems, coupled with his apparent immunity from prosecution, highlights the challenges law enforcement agencies face in dealing with transnational organized crime. Mogilevich's life has been the subject of numerous investigations and documentaries, each attempting to unravel the complex web of his alleged criminal activities. His story offers a chilling insight into the world of organized crime, illustrating the immense wealth and power that can be amassed through illegal activities and the seeming impunity enjoyed by those at the very top. Number 9. Amado Carrillo Fuentes. Amado Carrillo Fuentes, known as the Lord of the Skies, was a notorious Mexican drug lord who led the Juarez cartel. Born on December 17, 1956, in Guamuchilito, Sinaloa, Mexico, Carrillo Fuentes rose from modest beginnings to head one of the most powerful and violent drug trafficking organizations in Mexico. At the height of his power, his estimated net worth was over $25 billion, making him one of the wealthiest criminals in history. Carrillo Fuentes inherited the Juarez cartel after assassinating his boss, Rafael Aguilar Guayardo. Under his leadership, the cartel's operations expanded dramatically, focusing primarily on the transportation of cocaine from Colombia to the United States. He earned his nickname Lord of the Skies due to his extensive use of large jet aircraft to transport drugs. Carrillo Fuentes' operation was marked by its sophistication and scale. He was known for his ability to evade law enforcement and for his willingness to use extreme violence to maintain control of his operation. His wealth allowed him to corrupt officials at the highest levels of government, further shielding his activities from scrutiny. However, Carrillo Fuentes' reign was relatively short-lived. He died in July 1997 while undergoing plastic surgery to alter his appearance and evade capture by authorities. His death led to a power struggle within the Juarez cartel, which resulted in a period of intense violence and instability in the region. Despite his death, the legacy of Carrillo Fuentes continues to have an impact on the drug trade in Mexico. His life and criminal activities have been depicted in numerous films and television series, contributing to the ongoing fascination with the world of drug trafficking. The story of Amado Carrillo Fuentes is a stark reminder of the enormous wealth that can be accumulated through illicit activities, the violence that often accompanies such pursuits, and the far-reaching impacts of the international drug trade. His life serves as a cautionary tale about the pursuit of power and wealth at any cost. Number 10. Carlos Lader. Carlos Lader, born on September 7, 1949 in Armenia, Colombia, is a notorious former drug lord who co-founded the infamous Medellin cartel. A key figure in the cocaine trade during the 1970s and 1980s, Lader revolutionized the drug trafficking industry by transporting massive amounts of cocaine from Colombia to the United States. At the peak of his power, his estimated net worth was over $2.7 billion. Lader started his criminal career with small-scale drug smuggling operations. However, his ambition and innovative thinking led him to devise a new method for transporting cocaine. He acquired an island in the Bahamas, Norman's Cay, which he transformed into a major transshipment hub for drugs. The strategic location of the island allowed him to evade law enforcement and streamline the transportation process. Under Leder's leadership, the Medellin cartel flourished, and its influence expanded across international borders. His operation was marked by its ruthless efficiency and its willingness to use violence to protect its interests. Leder was also a fervent admirer of Adolf Hitler and espoused extreme nationalist and anti-American views. However, his success would not last forever. Leder was captured by the Colombian authorities in 1987 and extradited to the United States, where he was tried and sentenced to life in prison without parole, plus 135 years. His cooperation with authorities later led to a reduction in his sentence, and he was eventually extradited to Germany in 2020 after serving 33 years in prison. Leder's story is one of immense wealth, power, and ultimate downfall. His innovative approach to drug trafficking had a profound and lasting impact on the cocaine trade, shaping the industry in ways that continue to be felt today. His life has been the subject of numerous documentaries, books, and films, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangerous allure of power and wealth obtained through criminal activities. Number 11. Kun Sa. Kun Sa, born Chang Chi-fu in 1934 and also known as the Opium King, was an infamous warlord and drug trafficker in the Golden Triangle region encompassing Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand. Kun Sa's operations were believed to have provided the majority of the heroin in New York City in the 1980s. His estimated net worth at the peak of his operations was around $5 billion. Kun Sa's influence extended beyond the drug trade. He led the Shan United Army, a rebel group fighting for the autonomy of the Shan people in Myanmar. He used the profits from his drug operations to fund this army, further complicating efforts to capture him. Despite his vast criminal operations, Kun Sa lived out his final years in relative peace after surrendering to the Myanmar authorities in 1996. He died in 2007, leaving behind a complex legacy that combines elements of criminality, rebellion, and ethnic nationalism. Number 12. Leona Helmsley. Leona Helmsley, known as the Queen of Mean, was an American businesswoman known for her real estate empire and her conviction for tax evasion. Born in 1920, she amassed a fortune estimated at $8 billion through her real estate investments, which included the Empire State Building. Helmsley's downfall began in 1989 when she was charged with income tax evasion and other crimes. Despite her wealth, she was famously quoted as saying, "We don't pay taxes. Only the little people pay taxes." This statement, along with her notorious behavior, made her a symbol of the wealthy elite's perceived indifference to the law. She served 18 months in prison and was required to perform community service. Despite her criminal conviction, Helmsley continued to manage her vast real estate empire until her death in 2007. Her life has been the subject of numerous books and documentaries, offering a fascinating look into the interplay of wealth, power, and crime. Number 13. Victor Bout. Victor Bout, born on January 13, 1967 in Dushanbe, Tajik SSR, Soviet Union, is a notorious international arms dealer. Known as the Merchant of Death, Bout allegedly provided weapons and military equipment to various conflict zones around the world, reportedly fueling wars in Africa, the Middle East, and South America. His estimated net worth at the height of his operations was around $6 billion. Bout's operations were marked by their scale and reach. Using a fleet of cargo planes, he was able to deliver vast amounts of weaponry to various parties, often in violation of international embargoes. His operations have been linked to several high-profile conflicts, including the civil wars in Angola and Sierra Leone. Bout's prolific career came to an end in 2008 when he was arrested in Thailand in an operation led by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. He was extradited to the United States, where he was convicted of several charges, including conspiracy to kill U.S. citizens and officials, and is serving a 25-year prison sentence. Number 14. Zhou Yongkang. Zhou Yongkang, born on December 5, 1942 in Wuxi, Jiangsu, China, is a former senior leader in the Chinese Communist Party who fell from grace in a high-profile corruption scandal. Zhou was once one of the most powerful men in China, serving as the head of the country's internal security apparatus. In 2014, Zhou was placed under investigation for serious violations of party discipline, a euphemism for corruption. The following year, he was sentenced to life in prison on charges of bribery, abuse of power, and disclosing state secrets. The downfall of Zhou Yongkang, who was rumored to have amassed a fortune in the billions, was seen as a major victory in President Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign. Zhou's case served as a stark reminder of the potential for corruption at the highest levels of power.